Travelers, and welcome to another episode of Tales of Teyvat, a Genshin lore podcast. Last week, we sent Kaeya's DNA to Ancestry.com and took a look at the Archon quest, Caribert.
This week, we're discussing Fischl von Luftschloss Narfidort. I'm sorry, my German is very rusty, but the best character, the best support, and/or DPS, Fischl.
Good day, subjects. Fate has spoken, and our retinue has cast upon the glowing scroll of the ether images sealed with the creation of tales told on this eve. In other words, visit our website for visuals. It's talesofteyvat.com.
You can also check out on our site links to our past seasons and special episodes, artist spotlights from the community per episode, wallpapers for download, and some of our favorite Genshin merch.
Finally, feel free to email us at talesofteyvatpod@gmail.com to let us know what you think of this week's episode and what topics you'd like to see in the future. Today, though, we do have a very special guest on. It is our Fischl enthusiast, Vanessa.
Hello. I am honored to be here.
Welcome, our very first guest.
Longtime listener, longtime fan. Thank you. I'm honored. What better topic than to be here for than Miss Fischl?
One of your faves.
Yes, probably my most fave.
Vanessa, can you tell us why Fischl's like your fave?
I think she stands out of everybody in the game. I think she is so fun and just lives in her own delusion. I love her look. I think what drew me to her was her look. Obviously, I love the purple and black and all of that. And she has this beautiful raven next to her. So yeah, she's great. And she's a bow character, which is what I like to play with. So then I realized how ridiculous she was, and that was it. The rest is history. I could go on and on about her. So
You came for the goth and stayed for the delusion.
yeah, pretty much.
Delusion.
And it's so funny. I've been teaching myself German on and off for a while now, and I picked it back up this month, and I didn't even mean to, but I'm like, oh, wait, now I can be like Fischl a little bit.
I do like that you were just randomly like, hey, I'm just going to learn German now, you know?
Yeah, I've tried to. I was like, I've always wanted to learn it. It sounds enough like English that I feel comfortable with it, but yeah.
See, to me, German sounds nothing like English.
I'm going to convince you of that later.
Okay.
But there's a lot of obvious like German things that are inspiring her character, and I can attempt to pronounce them correctly. So, hopefully.
Oh, good, because we have no idea how to pronounce any of it.
I mean, you heard.
Anything.
I'm no expert. Don't come for me.
You're going to do better than me.
I'm an A1. I'm still A1 German. I'm still learning. But it's Fischl von Luftschloss. Luftschloss. And then Narfidort is just made up.
I'm a Narfidort.
You're a Narfidort for sure.
That's true.
And just quickly for our travelers too, Vanessa is a very good friend of all of ours. She is not only an avid Genshin player, but an avid Honkai Impact the third player, which is very important when it comes to Fischl, which I never thought I'd ever say that something from Honkai Impact the third was very important on this podcast, but it is.
How dare you?
And
It's in every one of our Spotify polls.
Just to see a Quanta.
Which is relevant here, actually.
But outside of the video game stuff, Vanessa is a very, very smart, intelligent person and very, very into the world of history based off her studies and everything. Not a history buff. Don't get it mixed up. And she has her German that we didn't know about until like 2 days ago. So very exciting. She's definitely going to bring a lot to this episode. So we're very, very excited to have her. That being said, Fischl, I'm not going to pronounce the rest of it, the Prinzessin. Do you guys remember like the first time you ever saw Fischl? I feel like I didn't really get like a big intro to her really.
I think I pulled her before I met her. Well, her first story appearance was 1.1, right?
Unreconciled Stars.
Yeah, so I missed the event, as most people did, but I did go back and watch it later, and it was very funny to see everyone reacting to the way she speaks, including Mona. But yeah, I think I just pulled her on a random banner and was like, oh, who's this? I really enjoy her combat. And then she would talk during her idol, and I was like, what the hell?
You're like, what is happening? Yeah, I feel like for me, it's the same thing. Like, I don't even know if I pulled her. I think I was like, who's this on the banner?
Yeah, Brandon because Brandon showed me the game, as I've mentioned a few times. As soon as she showed me her, I was like, I need the goth girl. Like, I don't even care if I'm not good with bows, and I don't care, because I was just like, I just need her because she's such a little crazy goth drama queen.
I remember the first time being introduced to Fischl because, speaking of, Vanessa was in chat with us when I pulled her, and I'm like, who's this? And Vanessa's like, you mean the best damn character ever? And I'm like, yeah.
She's like a hidden 5-star in a 4-star kit. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't want
I
to
think-
talk too much about it, but I pulled her too and was like, oh, okay, this is cool. I'm going to love playing with her, but then realizing how like broken she is. Like, as soon as you get a couple constellations on her, you're good. So
Absolutely. Yeah. I think she's one of the only 4-stars I haven't C6'd.
No shit.
Really?
I think I'm missing one constellation on her. So she's at C5, but she's not C6.
Well, she's on the banner, so
Yeah,
she has
she's
Thundering Pulse. I give that lady her 5 stars. Because I too love to be delusion. Convince yourself.
All right, Jinx.
All right. So then, really, all we know about Fischl off the bat as a traveler who's starting the game right now is that Fischl is an investigator for the Adventurers Guild, and that she says she's from a different world.
Not Honkai.
Yes.
That's like base knowledge, right? That's it.
Well, she may say that. Do I believe her? Not really. But
Well, yeah. But yeah, it's interesting though, because this is a character that has so much depth to them
Mhm.
when you look under that surface, but unless you're looking for it, I feel like you don't get a lot of Fischl, and that's really unfortunate.
Yeah, what she actually says is, answering the call of destiny, we have descended upon Teyvat. That's how she
Mhm.
introduces herself, her and Oz.
I have a theory on that, but that's
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to get into a lot of crazy theories.
I don't know. I just feel like you talk to her and you go, okay, there's something going on here. Like, I don't think for one moment I went, oh yeah, she's really the princess.
I mean,
Yes.
the second you hear "'tis I," there's a moment of like, oh, we're doing that, and it hella reminded me of an anime I used to watch that was very cringe for me because I did something very similar. But there's this anime called Love, Shunibyo and Other Delusions, where one of the main characters, Rika, thinks she has magical powers, does not. Has none of it. She's just in middle school pretending she has these magical powers. I'm like, fuck, man, I was that autistic kid. and I'm just, well, she wears an eye patch and just like Fischl. I'm just like the parallels of this show and like the idea of she's very special when in reality there's no such thing as magic. With Fischl, it's very different because she actually has a vision, so she is very special, but she is not the true princess.
Right.
I don't know. I believed her.
I did too.
I took her for her word. I'm like, I don't know. She's got this Oz guy he's here talking to. I really thought
I did not.
that she was serious. I mean, she stands out, like I said earlier, in a way that is different from the rest of the game. But then Mona kind of is a taste of it. I feel like she's a small extension of that. So it's believable. We believe Mona when she talks all her stuff. So
Yeah, but she also isn't talking it in a way that is like grandiose.
it's a little different though. If you take a listen,
Mhm.
it's a little off-brand, I think, from the rest of the characters.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Another thing I was going to say was that when she's first introduced to us, I guess you get her early character lines and her voice lines.
Mhm.
And I think her hello, greetings, whatever, is something about the traveler also being not of this world.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I like that she's putting that out there because I don't know how often that's put out there from other people.
Yeah, she's like one of like 5 characters that say that. I think the only characters who like openly acknowledge that we're not from this world besides the Archons are Albedo and Fischl.
I thought there was one more.
There might be, but those are the 2 I can remember because we're talking
People-
about Fischl and I love Albedo. So
Maybe I'm thinking of non-playable characters. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I don't know.
it could also be
I think people
Skara.
hint to it.
Yeah, I like
Ito hints to it, right? Like he's like, you're a moon. What does he call her? He says something and she's like, her and Paimon are like a snack or something.
Oh, you mean
Oh.
lavender
A
melons?
lavender melon.
Yeah. It's like, what do they call her?
They're fruit, not people.
Whatever. There's clues out there, but I don't think anyone's like, hi, you're another person that is not of this world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is also what makes it believable.
I believe
Yeah, I mean, as we realize that she's delusional, sort of, or she's role playing. As we learn that, to me, it deepens the mystery of her backstory, which we find out, is from this book series. But it also just it broadens the like conspiracy theories that you can have about Fischl. And is she really this person, even though everyone thinks that she's role playing? Or, was she role playing someone, then she became that person, and then who is that person? So I love the sort of like Russian doll aspect of it, of like she was just a normal girl role playing, but she got her vision, and Oz seems to be real because other people can see him. And I think Oz also sort of makes her unique as a vision wielder.
Yes.
Because no one else really has like a partner like that. So it really just kind of sparks your imagination of like what might actually be hidden behind what's going on with Fischl.
And doesn't Oz or Fischl say that they share their vision? Isn't that
Yes.
something?
Their
Yes.
fate and their vision. So they're very much intertwined together.
She
Oh,
also
yes.
becomes him during her burst, which I don't
Mhm.
know how much more clue you get.
Yeah, and she can see through his eye.
Mhm.
It's pretty dope.
I always wondered if it was kind of
Beastmaster.
like, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is it like Beastmaster, where like she's got to stand in one spot and he just goes around and like, because like there's in some of the character stories and stuff with her, you hear that like she goes to Stormterror's lair and stuff like that, and she's like looking at like flowers and whatnot, but she's really looking through Oz's eyes. But I
Yeah.
always imagine like Fischl sitting there like in a yoga pose with her eyes floated back in her head.
No, so I actually, before we started recording, I was looking for her collected miscellany, and there's not one, or at least I couldn't find it.
It's
but
on
there
the Honkai
is.
YouTube.
I did find that, yes. But there is an early introductory video for her that I think is just called her new demo or something. And I think it came out way before the game was released. I think it was April, and the game was released in September, like late September.
Yeah, it was April 2020.
Yeah. So that video, if you watch that, it is total beast master mode, Tiff, because she's just like standing somewhere and like it shows the point of view of Oz flying, and then Oz sort of targets an enemy, and then Fischl just like poofs in from the air, drops down and starts shooting arrows.
Oh my god, that's insane. Now, you guys were mentioning this whole thing with Oz. Can she also do that in Honkai? Is that like her elemental, like that she turns into Oz?
She doesn't turn into him, but she does a similar move where she like plunges down with like the whole thundering retribution thing and like the arrows, and he's there. It's very cinematic, as she
It's
is.
similar combat. Yeah.
Yeah. It's similar combat in that you push out Oz and then you switch off, and he's still there doing that long-lasting
Zapping away.
AoE. Yeah.
Zap, zap, zap.
So then the first time we really get to see Fischl and dive into her, since we don't have a collected miscellany, whatever video from her too, is the Unreconciled Stars event. And she's there, and that's the first time she meets Mona as well, right?
Yes.
And
Mona's kind of like, is this hoe for real? Which is rich coming from Mona.
She's a seer. She should already know.
Exactly.
No offense with the usage of the word rich, but
What exactly is Fischl's part in Unreconciled Stars?
to tag along and be fabulous.
Pretty much.
I'm dead. So, okay. No plot point. Okay.
She's fabulous.
I thought she was like
Everything
looking for the
works.
meteorites or something. She was investigating all the meteorites.
Okay. Is
That
that
kinda
Yeah, I think she, as an investigator, she was like tied into the actual.
Okay. So she's like the member of the Adventurers Guild that's out doing the research type of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe so. It's been so long since I watched it, but I just remember Mona and Traveler sort of putting all the pieces together while Fischl was just like, it's probably someone from the Immernockrites or something. And they're all just kind of like rolling their eyes.
Pretty much.
It's like, sure, my dude.
So what is the Immonocrate? Is that from the book that everything is based
She
around?
is the sovereign of it. It's the Evernight Empire. I don't really know if it's made up in the book. Brandon, do you know? I read the book, but it's not really a real book. It's like
it's not. Well, so the book series is the Flowers for Princess Fischl, but we don't actually. The only volume of it that we have access to is basically considered volume 0, even though I think it's called volume 1, but it's sort of just notes about the other things, like from a later publishing, like a later edition of it being published. So it's like you have notes from the author, but it doesn't give a whole lot of details about what's actually in the story. Most of those details you gather from her character story or like her official introduction and things like that.
You get Oz's full name though.
Yes.
Osvaldo.
And yeah, from what we can tell, the Immernachtreich is, what she says is where she's from. And that, yeah, like Vanessa said, she's the sovereign of that place. I think you can put together some clues as to what that could be. I think the most obvious ones are either the Abyss or Conria, assuming that there is a real Fischl somewhere and that this is based on a real person.
Well, I'm going to pronounce it really wrong, so don't come for me. But there is a place called, Jesus Christ, the Sommernachtgarten.
Oh, yes. Summer Night Gardens, yes.
Yes, which is the Summer Night's Garden. And so that's actually part of a domain. It talks about it in the Midsummer Courtyard domain, which is located in Mondstadt. And it says that, there was this lost civilization that was ancient and it died out, and along with it the once prosperous and magnificent Summer Night Garden was also buried underground. So they're suggesting that this domain is this place, and there's a lot of connections back to Fischl with it because her favorite food is
Mitternachtsbrot, which brot is bread.
And it's of the Summer Night's Garden. And so there's a lot of suggestions that this domain is where this lost civilization is as well, but it's separate from Conria, but maybe living on that same underground plane, which brings a lot of questions too, because, we talked a lot in our episode last week about Caribert, how we used to think that the Thousand Winds Temple and the Thousand Winds Temple extension site mixed with the Spiral Abyss Island were all Conrian entrances, but what if it's this Summer Night Garden having an entrance instead? There's a lot of questions with that, and it definitely made me be like, oh, is Fischl connected to this?
Or is it the unified civilization that was around pre-Conria?
And maybe it's all three of those, right? Right, it could be the Summer Night Garden could be the domain, which could also be the unified civilization. That's a lot. There's also a song on Sailor Moments called Sian Man Sommernachtgarten, Summer Night Garden, whatever it is. So that word just keeps popping up everywhere, and I think it's very interesting that they are specifically using that word and then tying it in with Fischl, but that's all I have to say. That's it.
Do we want to get into her actual history as a girl by another name?
Yeah. So at one point, there's a connection we see between the fact that Fischl is telling us this story, and then we find a book that can be purchased at Yai Publishing House called Flowers for Princess Fischl. And we find out via Fischl's voice lines, character stories, and some more information later on in one of the summer events that Fischl hasn't always been Fischl.
It's such a sad story. It's at first extremely heartwarming and then extremely sad. But to start it, I don't know where she got the book. She found Flowers for Princess Fischl and was like, this shit be bussin'. This is amazing. This is my everything. And she was quite young.
Yeah, it's she was, because her parents were really busy adventurers. This is in her character story where she was spending a lot of her childhood just in the library. Yeah. Because her parents were never around, which I was like, that's kind of relatable. But I was a latchkey kid, so I was definitely love to read. But then so she dove into the books, and this is where she finds Flowers for Princess Fischl.
and even when her parents came, they would encourage her. They're like, prinzessin. They would be all in the fantasy with her because she was so young. And that kind of like, she was no longer Amy at that point. She was only Fischl.
Who's Amy? We haven't even brought up Amy.
Oh shit!
Cue the Brittany.
Yeah. Spoiler.
If you seek Amy.
It's actually blurred out. Like,
Yeah, she
in
had
the-
them blurred out because that's how much she doesn't want her name out there. Like, she's gone to the Adventurers Guild and all the official like stuff. It's like, no, nobody calls me by that name.
Exactly.
That's her
And
dead
she
name.
is only Fischl. They're Amy, who's Amy? No one knows who anyway, but
Yeah, but it's a cool story though, like that she, she was reading this book and she's told her father about it when they came home from their adventure. And he was just like, yeah, you're a princess. And they started it and started calling her Fischl. But at the same token, they're the ones that took it back.
yeah.
When she was 14, they were like, maybe it's time you grow up.
Yeah, and I feel like out of all the characters, the one with the most normal family situation has been Fischl. Because when I reference that anime, Love Chunibyo and Other Delusions, it's kind of a phenomenon called the middle school syndrome or eighth grader syndrome, where kids everywhere, regardless of culture or whatnot, will like, I'm special. I'm a superhero living in a little bit of a delusion. And it's usually around that time where it becomes very prominent because they have been told, like, you need to grow up. You are of a certain age. It's time to stop playing make-believe. And it's like, no, I don't want to grow up. Fuck you.
And this
all
was
that.
especially sad because it was when she was 14. And the reason she went crying to her parents is because she was basically being bullied by other kids.
Yeah.
And that's when they were like, well, this was cute when you were however old, but you're 14, it's time to grow up. And then that's what led her to run off to the library late at night. And that's when she got her vision and met Oz at the same time.
Oh, that's so funny. I feel like I read the vision story wrong because I always imagined, and this is how you know that I just make up my own headcanons, that she was sitting at the table and her parents were like, yeah, no, you're Amy and we let you live like this for a little bit because we felt bad that we were absentee parents, but you can't do this shit anymore. And then I just kind of imagined the Archons being like, oh, fuck that. She can be Fischl as long as she wants. And then her vision plopped down the dinner plate. So it really
there is a dinner though, Amanda. You're not wrong.
Oh my god.
She brings Oz to dinner. They're like, oh, we see him.
they're like, who the
like,
fuck
it's
is
not-
this?
And then they're like, that's when they refer to her parents as the Kaiser and Kaiserin of the Weltlung, which is Emperor and
Damn.
Empress.
Yeah.
They're the Emperor and the Empress.
Can you imagine being like a parent and like your kid is just like a really dedicated theater kid and you're trying to tell them like, if you don't stop this, we're sending you to therapy, and they just bring a fucking talking like crow to dinner?
He's a
And he's a raven. Yeah.
I'm sorry. And then they get a vision at the same time.
I'm not sure if the birder side of me, like the bird geek, or the goth version of me got insulted that you called him.
Yeah, for me, it was
I
the
feel
god.
like both.
It was both.
It was both.
I will say the reason that I thought crow is because Fischl and Oz are actually both mentioned in the description of crows in our teapot when like you go to put them down as like a
Yes.
furniture placing. And it talks about the fact that there are rumors among the adventurers from all across Teyvat that there is a giant talking crow being raised by a female investigator from Mondstadt.
I think that's a quite like a cute little nod because majority of the populace cannot tell the difference between a crow and a raven.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
And
Like a raven just looks like a bigger crow, doesn't it?
You're
Yes.
just not goth enough.
you just but it's
Sorry.
also
Listen, I'm not
like-
even going to try to front, so it's fine.
They are very distinct and they have very different sounds and their size is different. But their wing
Yes.
pattern's different too. And I won't go into
Oh.
that because I'm just going to bring you all down to my...
Well, also
like that.
even just the iridescence on their feathers.
I'm going to link in our site the difference between a raven and a crow. So this way you can all be
Yes.
like, yes, I know now what I'm looking at.
Well,
He's a Raven Schwartz.
I would appreciate that.
Raven Schwartz.
I will say too that Tubby does mention that, I'm not worried about this talking crow because every animal has their own language. It's natural for them to want to learn the human language, isn't it? And I'm
That
like, all
is
right, Tubby,
adorbs.
Tubby's like, don't mess with my friends. The birds
Tubby.
work for the bourgeoisie, and I'm the bourgeoisie.
Wait, do ravens kind of sound like people though, right? Are they the ones that sound like people? They're like, hey, hey.
They can mimic you.
So it's like Osvaldo is believable to me yet again.
But it's also something I learned via some very, very weird YouTube shit that I don't want to go into. If you were to say, be surrounded by death in front of crows, they will associate you with death and try and run away from you.
I like that.
They're very social creatures. And like, it won't even be the same crows. It'll just be different crows. But word has spread that you are weird. They don't want to be around you.
Yeah, don't crows laugh at people too?
They can.
Crows and ravens are both similar in that they're both freakishly smart, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, ravens more so. You'll see ravens like bringing things like they've seen people who feed them will bring them back tokens to say thank you, like that type of thing. You tend to see it more in the ravens than crows, but I mean, a lot of birds are a lot smarter than they seem. They just don't really care that much about us. Where ravens are like, oh, you're a source of my food, so I'm gonna thank you for that kind of a thing. They do have a higher intelligence.
Do we agree though that ravens are cooler? Like, I think they're way cooler. They're bigger, they're cooler. Yeah.
I think Edgar Allan Poe made that very clear.
Yeah.
That ravens are far cooler.
Although a bunch of crows together is called a murder, and that's just fun.
A murder
I do
of crows.
love that.
Yeah, that is fun.
There is, I think it's 3 crows is a sign of death, but 5 crows is a sign of wealth, or I might be flipping that around. Yeah. You can do fortune telling with crows as well.
Now, what if Fischl grows up and then travels to a different world where someone is cosplaying as Brandon Lee as the crow?
Oh shit, her head's just gonna explode.
And then they get together and they're like this power couple.
Yeah.
Would that be in a bubble universe?
Yeah.
It's gotta be.
Absolutely. It could be like a bubble
It's too
version
early
of
for
Earth.
bubble universes. Anyway.
She could just follow Alice over there.
Here's the thing. In this universe, it's Fischl and Mona OTP. In that universe, they can have it.
He's the one going into this alternate reality. So,
anywho, so we find all of this out about Fischl and Oz. And do we know when she gets Oz exactly? Does she find him
on her 14th birthday? Yeah,
yeah. He kind of like shows up with the
to
vision.
dinner. So
no, not to dinner.
So
in the library.
slops on the dinner plate too.
Yeah,
No.
after the whole grow up conversation, she goes to the library to like self-soothe and he's there. And then this horrible thing happens. I don't really know what happens, Brandon. Maybe you understand it. But there's in her character story, it says she doesn't much like this story and that thinking about it causes her to feel suffocating pain and soul-devouring loneliness. So I don't know
I took
what
that
happened there. I
think that was her father telling her that she can't be the princess anymore.
This is after Oz shows up, though.
So this is actually one of the key mystery building pieces of her lore to me, because on one hand, she's in the library, she's having her emo moment. My parents don't understand me, no one likes me.
Such a teenage
This
thing
is
to
the
say.
moment she gets her vision, but it's also she hears the fluttering of wings at the same time. So Oz appears with her vision, and then the lore says at that time she becomes Fischl instead of Amy, and that her story is now Fischl's story and not Amy's story. And Amy would say that, she goes through this excruciating thing. And to me, I was a little confused as to, does that mean that is it just describing like what Amy was feeling in that moment of loneliness, like right before the vision hit? Or does that mean that an actual force took over her body and separated Amy to some degree from Fischl? Or like, did Amy go through something really painful as Fischl took her over?
I think it's that, because I think that's the moment they actually become bonded. To say something like suffocating pain, like, okay, soul devouring loneliness. Yeah, we get that. A mood. But suffocating pain feels physical, and I feel like something actually happened where this is when she gets her vision. It's also confusing because later on it says that Oz says that Fischl gave him his life and his powers. So it's like this, again, that like bonded symbiotic thing of they are one. They were always one. I think he always existed. But anyway.
It does sound like to me like another entity kind of took over Amy's body and she became Fischl. So not trying to bring in too much Honkai, but I know we will. But like if Fischl from Honkai took over the body, very host-esque, of Amy, and Oz came along with this new persona, it would make sense that Fischl, when she thinks about Amy's story, would feel excruciating pain, because it's like, not only is it this life that would be quote unquote gone, but it's also like a life that she took, right? Like I took over this body. It kind of reminds me of like, and I know Brandon, you're the only one who's played this game, so I apologize, but in Stray Gods, you know how they talk about like when the muse Calliope takes over Grace's body, that like eventually one day Grace is going to have none of her memories and she will just be the muse Calliope. That's kind of what it reminds me of.
Yeah, no, I like that. And I have a lot of theories about who Fischl could be that we'll get to.
Can I throw something out there? Just like an idea. So I think two things happened, and I think both of what we're saying happened. I think like Fischl legit took over Amy, but I think the Fischl part of Amy let Amy die, if that makes sense. Because there's another name Fischl goes by, which is the Prinzessin of the oh god, fuck me. Prinzessin der Witterlong.
Der Ertelung. Yeah.
Ertelung, which translated as Princess of Condemnation. Of disapproval.
Of condemnation?
Condemnation.
Condemnation.
Safety first.
That's what I heard.
This is giving me brand new theories about Conria.
The Conria.
Conria. But in the fact that Fischl does call herself this, I think she's understood that the world around her disapproves of what she's doing. They disapprove of like this quote unquote delusion she's having. But she's thrown herself full in and she doesn't care. So she has now become the Princess of Condemnation. She is officially Fischl, and there is no going back. Because what would that say? What would that leave her as?
Can you explain what condemnation is?
It's like, I condemn you to... Yeah, it's like damning or cursing.
She's the princess of damning
It's
people.
super strong disapproval or even a punishment. And that could be her punishment.
I mean, I like that interpretation. I do think the title Princess of Condemnation has more to do with the lore behind this Fischl character from the book, because she basically is... her fate is to sort of become God in a way and judge all the sinners and save all the righteous souls. And it's a whole thing. So that's how
she is God. She is, because she is the God of her own universe.
She's Vanessa's God.
Wait, no, I thought that was Venti.
No. Oh, Vanessa, who is your god?
Venti's my son. Fischl, no, Oz is my god. Oswald.
Okay.
Oswald. I have tattooed him on my body.
But you've also tattooed Venti stuff on your body.
The lyre, yeah. We have the lyre with Osvaldo next to it. Even though that makes no sense.
Yeah, her god and her son.
That's the second raven I have to. Oh, I was going to say that he got on with her parents, though. Like, there's no beef there. I think, like, her parents are like, yeah, okay. We see Oz.
They were so relieved that she made a friend.
Yeah, and they're like, you finally brought a friend home. And that's when they become the Kaiser und Kaiserin der Verurteilung, which is they're the emperor and empress of all of that.
Can you imagine, like, it's so nice to meet you, Amy's friend, and it's this giant talking raven that's like crackling with energy, like setting the chicken on fire on the dinner table.
But he's like translating for their daughter, which they haven't been able to understand for like the last 6 months. So they're really kind of chill with it. But, you know, that also begs a question in my head of when does Fischl join the Adventurers Guild? I don't know if that's mentioned at all in her character story.
I saw something that, like, it was like she got her, because she got, like, her vision, they, like, gave her a job really easily. I could be wrong. I think it
was when she was 14.
Yeah, it was, like, right after it, I think.
Yeah. And it was also her parents who got her that job because they petitioned the guild to let her join early.
So then after she joins the Adventurers Guild, she becomes pretty friendly with Bennett and Razor, or at least Bennett. And maybe the Razor's like a fandom canon, but her and Bennett become good friends. So, Oz also led to her getting a human friend, which I'm sure makes her parents happy too.
A human.
And then Mona and Traveler.
And then the Fischl dictionary is born because she needs a translator and no one can understand this girl.
Oh, yeah. Don't they pass that around in the Adventurers Guild?
It's not a real dictionary. It's sort of a theoretical dictionary, but it's not.
It's real. It's totally real.
Is it real? I didn't think it was.
No, it's not real.
That was in my heart.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's real because all the voice lines are Oz being like, she means this. And it's
Oz is the official dictionary.
I have a few of my favorites, but
what's your favorite? Yeah.
Okay, so I wrote it down. I don't know these by heart. She goes, "Rejoice, O ye servants who long for the blessing of the princessin. Venture now deep into the battlefield with hearts of the tiger." And he goes, "Yeah, she means that her initial investigative work has been completed." And then there's one where she's like, "All has been written in this tome of dark prophecies." He's like, "That just means her journal's been updated with the last report."
Oh my god!
So imagine talking like that at work.
I would love it.
Can I just add in my absolute favorite one, which is from the Summertime Odyssey from 2022, that we, we're hanging out with her and stuff. She says, "Is there not a single one of my lords and ladies who understood my precepts? Fools!" And Oz goes, "What main Farline means is to say that you're all rather stupid." And I'm like, this bird just called us stupid. And Mona's like, "You didn't need to translate that one."
Yes, he did.
It's my absolute favorite. I was like, that bird just called us dumb.
He is the official dictionary, though. There's so many good ones.
I love it.
So good.
I did want to backtrack just for a moment too, back to Bennett. When you read their about lines, Bennett 100% believes like Fischl's delusional ass too.
Oh no.
It's Bennett.
Oh yeah, he's in it.
He's probably the most gullible kid.
He's like, "I'm so excited. She's so freaking cool. So happy to have her as a friend. I can't wait to go to this world that she's from so I can adventure in it. But she keeps telling me no and that I'm not ready for it." And I think she's like worried that I'm not going to do well there because of my bad luck and because she says it's really dangerous. But like one day I'm going to go with her. And I'm like, is Bennett going to be in Honkai?
Quanta Bennett.
Look. We need it. We need it.
It's just amazing. Like, and it's funny because there aren't a lot of characters that like talk about Fischl, and it's probably because she hasn't been in like a main quest line yet. She's been in a lot of events, of course, but Noelle also believes her and like believes that she's from another world, though she's not really sure where it is. So like you have Bennett and Noelle believing her, and like you guys said, Bennett totally gullible, but Noelle,
does Lisa believe her too? No, right? She's just like, keep reading books. She's just like,
yeah, Lisa really just says that she's a really good kid and that she's always in the library reading and that she takes out books and she always returns them 3 days early. And Noelle also says that she knows Fischl from being in the library all the time. And Noelle will bring her snacks. And she says that Fischl is like so grateful every time she brings her snacks.
That's sweet. I mean, I would say Noelle is pretty gullible too, because remember her hangout where there's like the shady character and she's escorting them around
Yes,
Mondstadt?
that's true.
Oh my god, yeah.
Good point.
Oh, see, I haven't done Noelle's hangout yet.
Oh, well, trust me, she's a very gullible person.
Yes.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
cute, but damn.
She sees the best in people, let's just say.
Yeah.
She's a little too dumb.
What's that like? But
So the actual character of Fischl, where Amy got all of her delusions from, was from this book series called, as we've said, Flowers for Princess Fischl. And that was written by an author named Mr. Nine. And I wanted to just sort of harken back to, I think it was our Xing Show episode, where I can't remember if I flat out said it, but I know I was implying that the author of this book was Chang the Ninth.
Who murdered Little Nine.
Drowned him, according to Amanda.
But I don't. I think they're actually different people, which I really thought they were the same person because they both have these, Yai publishing deals. Yeah. But I think they're actually different people. Like Chang the Ninth wrote the Guhua book, but Mr. Nine, quote unquote, wrote not only Flowers for Princess Fischl, but the predecessor of that, which was the Legend of the Shattered Halberd series.
And now,
yeah.
that series, though, does that one talk about the Archon quest? I'm sorry, not Archon quest. I meant Archon War.
Well, maybe it might be disguising that as like a legend in this book, which we know that, you know, that's could be a way that people are passing down history if things might have changed in Irminsul. But the reason that I think I was confusing them, not just because one is called the Ninth and the other is Mr. Nine, and it clearly sounds like it might be a pen name of, you know, Cheng the Ninth. But also during that, I think it was that Archon quest with Xingqiu. Xingqiu's looking desperately for Legend of the Shattered Halberd because he wants to read it so bad. And Cheng the Ninth has it, and Cheng the Ninth ends up selling most of his collection except for that book because it's so rare. And I thought, well, that's because he wrote it, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think that's actually the case. Also, we find out through Fischl lore that Mr. Nine has hair loss. And we know that Cheng the Ninth has a full head of hair. That's like another clue.
This is the weirdest clue ever.
I know.
Insane.
It can't be the same. This dude's got hair.
Yeah. But to summarize Legend of the Shattered Halberd, or just to touch on a few key points, I mean, that could honestly be its own full episode, to be honest. It's about a divine halberd called Ermin that once connected 9 different worlds. So there were 9 different worlds, including the human world and the world of the gods. And all 9 of these worlds were connected to each other and accessible to each other by this divine halberd called Ermin. And that divine halberd gets shattered and turned into like these different swords that get strewn about the area. And there's this whole like epic story around it. And then at the end of that story, the God King creates a new divine halberd called the Prinzessin der Verurteilung. And I believe it might be implied that the Prinzessin is the God King's daughter. Not 100% sure. I didn't have time to read the entire thing word for word. But yeah, so the God King creates this new divine halberd, the Prinzessin der Verurteilung, that I guess will reconnect the 9 realms.
Hold up. Could that have been the United Civilization?
It could. Yeah, it could be.
We have 7 nations. So we got Mondstadt, Liyue, Inazuma, Sumeru, Fontaine, Natlan, Snezhnaya. Then we have, well, let's say Conria. We'll say the heavens. And then we'll say the...
Well, that's 9. You're already at 9.
Yeah, that's 9. So like, wait,
I know. And we've always said, like, I know Feeney has always shared this theory with me that when we finish Snezhnaya, there's going to be 2 more areas that we're going to go to Conria, and then we're going to go to Celestia.
100%.
I believe it. Or like we'll end up somewhere in the abyss, or like, or something. It's just, that's too interesting.
Yeah. So apparently, according to Mr. Nine, who wrote that book series and also wrote Flowers for Princess Fischl, she is this divine halberd creation that could connect the 9 realms, possibly.
It's fucking crazy.
And then in the actual Flowers for Princess Fischl series that we can't really even fully read yet, the few things that we can get are that this pilgrimaging princess reaches the kingdom of eternal twilight, sounds like Conria, who refused to acknowledge her mission as the Prinzessin of Immer Knockreich. They denied their 13,000-year lineage and turned into monsters.
Sounds
pretty
accurate.
Clear that's Conria.
Yeah, that's quite clear.
It also makes me think of the Sealies too. The whole like they married an outsider thing.
It makes me think of the Battle Pass cutscene.
Yeah.
Because remember, this princess goes after the Genesis Pearl and forgets her true identity, and she believes that she's the queen of the Kingdom of Darkness, Immer Knockreich. Isn't that the Evernight Kingdom or something?
Evernight Empire, yep.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we've had theories that maybe that Battle Pass cutscene princess is gold. I also think it's worth the possibility of thinking that maybe that's about the Abyss Twin as we sort of learn more about it, because we know that the Abyss Twin is summoned to Conria and that they kind of revere the Abyss Twin, but then the Abyss Twin kind of lets them down. So I could see it as like the Abyss Twin is pulled in to Teyvat from the Abyss by Conria and is like, I'm the leader of the Evernight realm, and y'all need to pay attention. And they're like, no, we just really want you to like help us take over the gods. and she's like, and then, you know, y'all got turned into monsters because y'all weren't paying attention to me. So then the book also says that Fischl spills her blood on an emblem during the cataclysm, basically, during the fight with all the beasts. And that's when the King of Ravens shows up and saves her and like pledges loyalty to her. It also says that she and Oz are world beasts who will eventually swallow all dreams, grant benediction to the gathered souls while using thundering retribution to cleanse all evil, and then set her heart ablaze to create the universe anew. But before all of that happens, she has to roam many universes.
So she's gonna be in Honkai Star Rail.
Sea of Quanta.
Sea of Quanta, yeah.
Sea of Quanta. That's the biggest thing I took away from that book because it's barely a book, right? But
Yeah.
but I was like, Sea of Quanta. I know.
Absolutely.
You guys hate it. I know.
No, but
I
I
know,
mean,
I
I'm
don't. I
true.
love it.
It's true.
And I got more
though.
Sea of Quanta coming in just a few
Oh
minutes.
no!
Oh,
What?
God.
All right,
I have one clue about Sea of Quanta.
all right, well, let's hear it.
It's really stupid though. It's one of her idle phrases that she says, where she says, "I do worry about the well-being of my retinue during my impromptu absence." And it's like, what? Where are you going?
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
absence? You left the guild for where? To Sea of Quanta.
Yeah.
That's what I take from that.
Well, how is she gonna get into Honkai?
She's there. She's there right now.
Exactly. Now she's got to take the Astral Express.
We just need her into Star Rail. And the trilogy is complete.
Mhm.
Which,
Oh.
yeah, the Astral Express has a Honkai Impact tie-in too.
What? What is it?
So the other thing that I was going to talk about was, to me, all the crossover, like hardcore crossover stuff for Fischl is in her weapon,
Okay.
Mitternoch's Waltz,
Yes.
Ooh.
fancy purple bow.
Not good on Fischl though, just so you know.
No.
Yeah, I
It's good on Ganya though.
prefer stringless, but
Yeah.
so let me just read the description of this and like sort of insert some stuff. So in their long journey across space and time, the Princess Enderva Erzulung and her night-severing raven bore witness to countless stories and their endings, each a raindrop that flows at the journey's end into a bitter sea. So that could be referencing the Sea of Quanta right there, because it's sort of implying that Fischl and Oz have seen their story play out in different ways in many bubble universes, which is a thing in Honkai Impact. Honkai Impact describes bubble universes as glasses of water that sometimes spill over, and the water that spills over pools together in the center of all these different universes, and that is the Sea of Quanta. That's like a tool they use to sort of help describe it to people. So that's
did
kind
really
of
help me. I feel
It
like
did.
I was stressed out more about it.
Okay. Raindrops, water, Sea of Quanta.
Yeah. So just imagine like 5 glasses of water, and they're all bubble universes that are similar to each other, and they're overflowing a little bit. And so in the middle of the table, there's a little indention, and so all this water that has spilled out of those glasses is pooling up together in the center.
Oh, and then that's like a fucked up world because it has
Yeah,
bits
it's
from
like-
all the worlds.
Yeah, it has bits of all these different bubble
Oh,
universes
interesting.
all mixing together.
And just a quick reminder for travelers and Brandon, Vanessa, make sure that I am saying the right thing. But a bubble universe lives on a tree.
Yeah, so I'm getting to that in
Okay.
just a second.
Okay, go ahead
So
then.
It's like Irminsul, yeah.
So we have the Sea of Quanta thing. Okay. And then I'm also questioning, do they have access to Cosmic Juggernaut, which is the second divine key in Honkai Impact, that when it's revealed in Honkai Impact, it's in the shape of a train. It looks quite a bit like the Astral Express. And the Cosmic Juggernaut is used in Honkai Impact by people to peek into endings of other bubble universes to sort of see like different possibilities of how to deal with Honkai. So it's very similar to the Astral Express in terms of what it does, and it's also a train. So that's a whole thing. And then I'm also wondering at this point, is maybe it's just as simple as like Alice or the Hexen Circle are involved, and they're traversing different worlds that way. But continuing on with the description, every young man's rage at injustice must turn to calm. Every passion must be ground into dust by the march of time before being turned to wild paranoia upon that inverted ancient tree. Even the branch of the tree of time upon which the great and glorious Riemann Republic nested would be cut off in the end, such that the nation founded by the other twin child of the wolves might rule. So this is like crazy, because this has potential Honkai tie-ins, but if you want to go just keep it in Genshin, there's some other stuff that could be going on. So the branch of the tree of time, that's referencing the imaginary tree, which is the tree through which time flows and sort of like light energy in Honkai Impact. In Genshin, that tree is expressed by Irminsul.
Okay.
In Honkai lore, each bubble universe is described as a branch of the imaginary tree. So this lore is saying that it was cut off. The Riemann or Raymond Republic universe was cut off of the tree, might mean that Teyvat actually fell off of the imaginary tree into the Sea of Quanta, which we brought up before. That's like a theory we had, I think, back in the Cataclysm episode of season 1. And the Raymond Republic, if you're not caught up on your Fontaine stuff, I'm not giving away any like major story spoilers, but I am just going to say that Remus was king of Remuria, which was the nation that used to inhabit modern day Fontaine before the OG Hydro Archon took over.
So Rome.
Rome, yes.
Yeah,
basically.
Rome.
But that's new lore that we sort of discover in Fontaine, that, you know, before the OG Hydro Archon, the one that died during the Cataclysm, before her, there was another nation in that area, and it was called Remuria, and it had a king god Remus, and it was destroyed. So that could be the unified civilization. It could lead into our theories about the second who came. So Fischl could also have something to do with that, because this whole like Sea of Quanta theory could also be explained. Maybe they're talking about the primordial sea when they're talking about the bitter sea, you know?
Right.
So if you don't want to go down the Sea of Quanta route with me and Vanessa, you could keep it in Fontaine.
But not Farina. It's not who
Now, I don't know what the other twin child of the wolves could mean.
Razor. No. it's just
Like,
maybe that's why there's 2 Andreases, because don't you say that there's an Andreas in Honkai?
He's in Honkai too, yeah.
So maybe that's not Andreas.
Well,
that's Andreas's twin.
It could also be they're saying wolves in sheep's clothing. Like these are kind of like false gods.
I would just like to say how interesting it is that there are like a million different nations that used to be a part of Teyvat.
I know.
And I feel like we're 3 years into this game, and it feels like we have still, are we 3 or 4?
3.
It's 3? It's 3, right? We're 3 years into this game, and we have still barely scratched the surface of the lore. You just mentioned that, and like you said, it's mentioned in Fontaine. I haven't even gotten there yet, and it's like, what the fuck? Now I want to like take out the textbooks about it and read about it, but I probably can't, because they're just giving you like little breadcrumbs of these things. They haven't really,
I know.
They don't give us the full picture, which is great, right? Because here we are making a lore podcast and trying to find as much breadcrumbs as we can to make a piece of bread. But it's so frustrating.
Well, yeah. And I also found out that there was a giant flood even before this Remuria thing. So there's like another cataclysm before the second who came cataclysm. But yeah. Anyway, let me finish this description, because this other part's going to blow your mind too. I'm sorry. I know this is like very long-winded.
No, you're
going
fine.
on and on, but
It's just like Fischl. Most long-winded.
the last part of it. Hearken well, Osvaldo. Is it Hrafnavens? Is that how we're going to say?
Yeah.
The sovereign of the Immernachtreich weepeth not. 2 of the 3 bright moons that caused the perfumed sea of the primordial universe to shine and stirred up the beasts of the Aryanrod realm were shredded by a sword that tore the horizon asunder, left in smithereens too small even for the mystical sight of the Prinzessin. Or perhaps this was what happened. The bright moons that once illuminated a universe brought dreams and song to the sweet sleepers of 3 worlds, and awakened a deep longing in the beast herds that wandered betwixt dawn and dusk. They were at last rendered dust, but even so, they too wished to remain within the eternal shining gaze of the Prinzessin, bringing their subtle light unto more land still. Indeed, a Prinzessin does not shed tears. That was merely a natural secretion from her royal eyes, affronted as they were by the untimely intrusion of those impudent grains of sand. So I don't know how we missed this in our Moon Princess episode, because this weapon came out like I think in 2021,
right?
But this is like crazy.
That's all in the weapon lore?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, who would have ever thought to have looked there? Like
you?
No, like I would have never thought to have looked at Fischl's weapon description for Moon Princess lore.
Yeah.
I didn't even know this weapon existed in Genshin until the current weapon banner, because I have it on her in Honkai.
I know. So
Ooh.
jealous.
And
of
I was
that.
like, oh, they gave her such a cool weapon in this game.
Too bad it's not good for her.
But so, yeah, there's this whole like new Moon Princess lore. The talking about the perfume sea of the primordial universe, stirring up the beasts of the Aryanrod realm. Like, what the hell is that? Aryanrod, I looked up as a figure in Welsh mythology.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting.
It's also interesting because we were told that one of the Moon Princesses' names was Arya.
Oh, yeah.
So I wonder if that like each of the Moon Princesses have a realm.
Well, yeah, because they talk
Questions.
about 3 worlds. So what are the 3 worlds? Also, is Fischl one of the Moon Princesses?
Could that be the three
That'd be
the
cute.
3 like realms that you've talked about before, Brandon? Like the elemental realms?
I don't think so.
Hmm.
Because one of them is the Void realm, which is like the abyss. I mean, maybe. I guess anything's possible.
I mean, there's a moon in the spiral abyss.
Yeah, it could be. But 2 of them are gone. So we're in one of 3 worlds. But how does that tie into me? I mean, maybe each cataclysm is destroying another moon. But didn't 2 of the 3 moons both perish in the second Who Came cataclysm?
Yes. Well, don't all of them actually die? And the third one in the sky is the carcass.
Oh, it's a corpse. Yeah, you're right.
We love that. We love that for us. There's just a corpse in the sky.
We love their bodies.
Way to set the mood, Genshin.
I know it's just bringing up more questions than it answers, but
Like everything else in this
That's
goddamn
okay.
game.
Yeah, we love that.
It's so crazy how deep-seated lore there can be in a character that doesn't have a hangout.
I know. It breaks my heart.
they really need to give her one.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's kind of depressing.
What would you guys want to see out of Fischl Hangout?
Something similar to what we did in the Summer Odyssey. I wanna be in the world of Fischl.
So in summer of 2022, we had a summer event where we went back to the archipelagos, right? That's how you say it? Yeah.
Mhm.
Archipelagos.
I love the fact that I have completely fucked you over.
Like,
with
yeah, that's how you
saying
say
that.
it. I'm like, no, but it's
No.
cool. That's how you say it.
That's how I say it.
I love it.
The archipelago.
We're taking back to the archipelago.
Archipelago. Like Archon.
Taking back to the archipelago. But this time, instead of being there with Kaeya and Jean and Albedo, R.I.P. I would have loved to have been there with Albedo. But instead, we are there with Klee, Mona, Fischl, Jinyan, and Kazuha. And we actually talked a little bit in our Kazuha episode about how he was like a drunk at Angel Share during the start of this event. But we basically get there and there is a quote unquote like island, I guess, that is dedicated to each person. And these islands are like domains and there's story quests to learn more about each character. And Fischl's is literally a castle with like raven statues everywhere. And it's very German. It's much more German than Mondstadt is.
Is there anything, sorry to derail us,
No.
Kaeya being German? Like his last name's Albrecht. No? Is there anything with that?
But Albrecht could be Norse too, couldn't it?
Yeah.
It's the spelling that got me, but is there anything German like Fontaine? It's just so weird how like everything's so Germanic with Fischl. And you see it in that event like a lot too.
I will say North Germanic and Norse have a lot of similarities. Norse mythology kind of bleeds into North Germanic mythology, specifically surrounding Odin, which a lot of people do look at Fischl and are like,
Yeah.
oh, is she an Odin related character? Because she has a
Yeah.
raven. It's like, it's 2 crows. It's huge and Miajin.
There's
Like,
something with the eye too.
She has one
Oh,
eye covered. Yeah.
yeah, 'cause
Ugh.
traditionally, was it 9 days or 3? I think it might have been 9 days, but Odin gives his eye to the Norns for knowledge, like the world's knowledge, and then hangs himself for 9 days and 9 nights. And then he is gifted said knowledge from the Norns, from the World Tree. So I think there are a lot of similarities, but I also don't want to be like, well, they're not sticking directly to the lore and like how exactly the mythology goes. when in reality, mythology has changed hands and mouths for the last millennia. So who's to say what? They take bits and pieces from, Israeli culture and Hindi culture when we go to Sumeru. So it's kind of like I was about to say Gilgamesh, not a Gilgamesh, just a mushing of cultural and mythological key points.
Yeah, it's funny you brought up the Odin thing. There is a bit in her, I guess as you level her up, you get more about her.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about the Auga of Vertelung, which is the eye of condemnation. And she refers to her left eye being, the eye that's patched, being this all-seeing eye that reveals all that is true in the world. So like Odin, and that she conceals it. Get this kills me. She conceals it because she thinks that the world's going to lose its splendor if it's stripped of delusion and falsehood. So she covers it.
Iconic.
She is pro-delusion, and I love her.
That is amazing.
But so it's cool though, because the Odin thing, I hadn't thought of it.
Well, I think one good theory about who the real Fischl that the story's based on could be is the daughter of King Ermin.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
He could sort of be like the Odin figure in the story of this game,
Ermin is the king of Conria, or okay,
of the final Eclipse dynasty.
Mm-hmm. And he was one-eyed. We know he was the one-eyed king.
But what's interesting too is that we've never considered the idea that maybe Ermin had a daughter, and that could also be the Gnostic hymn princess. So kind of going back and tying in your original thought that maybe that could be Fischl too. If King Ermin had a daughter, it's totally possible. But maybe also that daughter is Gold. Maybe Fischl and Gold are the same person.
Oh my god.
Or they're sisters.
Or they're twins, the wolf twins.
And Gold created Oz. Just like she created the dragons and other things from the abyss.
And Best Boy Albedo.
Do we have any opinions about Mona in any of this?
You mean that they're OTP?
No.
She's a seer. Isn't she a seer? Like, are we supposed to trust that she really can see?
I do.
Yeah.
Well, she can see the fates prescribed to everyone through the made-up stars, even though
they're made up.
Like she can't see fates.
Okay.
The thing is, the fates were just created by whoever, the primordial one, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But when she scries Fischl at one point, Fischl... Is this the voice line you
It's in her
noted?
voice line. Yeah, it's a Mona voice line.
Do you want to talk about it? It was cracking me up.
Yes, Mona, the mighty astrologer. Mona, who once had the vanity to probe the fate of the princess and of Vertelung herself. She wound up a trembling wreck, overborne and overmastered. And then Oz says, that poor lass was trying desperately not to laugh. It was no easy task. So ridiculous.
So I think that kind of proves that like Amy, the human being, is not really fated for anything. Like she really is, I think, kind of role playing.
She is.
But I feel like I'm really curious about Mr. Nine and how he created these stories and how he knew about things that are so old.
Just to play devil's advocate though here, what if Mona can't scry the souls of people not of this world? And so
she's only seeing Amy's side.
So if someone did quote unquote take over her body, they'd only be able to see Amy. They wouldn't be able to see Fischl in there.
Mm-hmm.
Did we know if Mona's ever tried to scry us?
I don't remember.
Needs to pay me if she's going to scry me.
It's like the Teyvat 23andMe is you just go to Mona's house.
Show me my family tree.
I mean, she tries to scry Venti. We know the whole thing about like how he throws wind at her. So this way she can't. But that would also mean that, well, no, okay, never mind. I just talked myself out of it. I was going to say, because that means that Venti, she would be able to read Venti's, but in that same case, she might not be able to read anything and therefore know that something's up with Venti.
Yeah, but Venti's also of this world, as far as we're concerned.
True. So the Archons are of this world.
As far as we're concerned. We don't know. They could maybe not be.
They have constellations, so I would think they are.
Yeah. That's a good point. But so do we.
Oh, we do.
So does Alloy.
Well, we have a bunch of constellations, don't we?
Yeah, we literally
constellation.
I will not stand for Aloy slander.
Is this the fake Aloy we're
dare you.
talking about?
The only canonically queer character in this game.
What?
I don't know her.
Yeah, me either.
You should be so lucky.
Ugh.
No. Boo.
Mhm.
I did want to just throw in though something I think is really funny about Fischl too. Fischl is like very impressed by Rosaria and how devout she is to Barbados. And she tells this story of how she like once like was like walking by the church or something and she heard her quote unquote invoking the name of the Archon, thus in another's presence. And she said, Rosaria said, may you be struck down in the name of Lord Bartabos.
That's so funny.
Fischl's like, that must have been some great prayer. And so I think it's cute too because if Fischl isn't Amy anymore, she would be like, yeah, Bartabos, that's the god. Whereas Amy, who grew up in Mondstadt, would know that Rosaria fucking sucks at being a nun. Like,
yeah.
I go back and forth about it, whether she's still Amy. I know that it doesn't make sense, but she breaks character quite a bit.
That's
Yeah.
true.
In her
Yeah.
voice lines, she catches herself, like, and she's
And
like, oh, sorry. And then she'll say, like, in her, ridiculous.
I
Yeah.
think she's still Amy. I just
Mhm.
think that it's possible that somehow maybe it's Oz as well has somehow attached himself to her, and that is sort of allowing her to channel like who the real Fischl really was. It also makes me wonder if she's almost like a half resurrected character from the past, because I know we talk about could this person be so and so reincarnated?
That's a very good point.
Like, is she like half a reincarnation, but she's still also Amy,
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to know who the real Fischl is.
Yeah, who inspired that book, right? Like, who inspired
Yeah.
the series?
Yeah. I just like the idea too of Amy walking around so stuck in her own little world of being Fischl. In my mind, she tried out for a play and didn't make it. So now she's like, well, fuck all y'all. I'm just going to be Fischl. Like, if you're not going to
That's
let
the
me
reason.
be Fischl in the stage, I'm going to be Fischl everywhere.
She's like, you want to see acting skills?
Yeah. I'll show you.
Right, you, the glory of walking beside the princessin.
All method acting to prove
Yeah.
people wrong.
Mhm.
Which I know I've mentioned to you guys off of the podcast, but it's also one of the reasons why I like Farina, because to me, she is the other girl at Fischl's high school who was also trying out to be for the lead in the play.
I
Yes.
know.
She did not get it.
Yeah, this is my fan fiction. Drama.
My headcanon is that, like, Farina's like her mom somehow. That doesn't make any sense. I know it's not
Yeah.
her mom, but like that's her mom.
Well, we
I
do.
love
The only
it.
thing we, outside of the small bits that we know them being their adventures and things like that, we know that Fischl's mom makes a bomb ass cold cut platter.
Yeah, I forgot
Yes.
about that.
Isn't that like insulting? Like, that's like the one
Yes,
thing that you
it
make
is.
really good is laying out
No.
pre-cut deli meats.
I guess it's kind of saying like charcuterie.
Yeah, good charcuterie
A
board.
charcuterie?
I don't know, man.
Mhm.
I don't
Antipasto,
know.
you get some good antipasto on there.
Yeah.
When-
Or it's just a total dig that this woman sucks so much at cooking that the only thing she could do is put together a cold cut platter.
That's how I saw it. I was like, damn, Fischl's mom sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
Couldn't even
Well,
do
and
any
Fischl will
other
no longer.
outdoors.
Fischl won't eat. Like Fischl hates sweet madame mainly because she doesn't like that it has has
Yeah.
fowl in it. So you can go on to think that maybe she doesn't eat any kind of bird because of Oz.
oh, that's
Yeah.
kind
That
of
makes
cute.
sense.
Mhm.
What a good person Fischl is.
Poor Osvaldo.
And what's fun too is that I forget what voice line it's in, but Oz and Fischl are talking, and Oz notes that Fischl was actually really worried about everyone's safety during the storm terror incident of Mondstadt. And that she was just very like worried and concerned and wanted to check in and help. And I think it goes to show that Fischl is a really good person. And that's really like something important to take away, because like regardless of if she's Fischl or Amy, regardless of if she's her own self or whatever it might be, put aside her delulu, she really does care about the people of Mondstadt. And I think you see that with Bennett saying like, oh, Fischl won't let me go to her world because she's afraid I'll get hurt. Or Lisa saying that,
Mhm.
Fischl's a good kid. Noelle saying that she's such a grateful person. She seems just like a really sweet high schooler.
Yeah, she is noted as being especially kind to people. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Fischl, best girl.
Oh, the penalty for mispronouncing Oz's name is to have one's tongue torn from one's mouth.
Oh,
oh wow.
Oh God,
I'll
I'm
just
never
call him
trying to
Oz.
say it.
His
Yeah.
full
Oz.
name is Osvaldo von Ruffnavens, but that the princessin will allow us, the traveler, to call him Oz. So there you go.
Oh God, I
What
would
privilege.
I know.
Privilege.
I would lose my tongue so quick.
I mean, we
Hard.
are one of her only friends.
True.
Well, I do think that's all the time we have for today. We'd like to say a very, very, very big thank you to Vanessa for being on the
No.
podcast. Clap, clap, clap.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was
Thanks for being here.
No.
Our very first
course not.
guest.
hope I didn't
Yeah.
ruin it.
No, definitely not.
Never.
And we're hoping that she'll be back later this season for a special Honkai
Oh
episode.
no, you'll lose all your listeners.
Nah. No, we'd lose all of our listeners if Fischl cut out our tongues because we can't pronounce Oz's full name.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
Osvaldo.
But if you like this episode, please give us a follow on Instagram, Tales of Teyvat Pod, or on Twitter, Tales of Teyvat. We are also on Threads as Tales of Teyvat Pod. If you have any thoughts, questions, or things you want to know about this episode, or you want to let us know some thoughts you have for the future, feel free to email us at talesofthevatpod@gmail.com. You can also check out the description of this podcast to check out some more information about where you can find Vanessa and where you can check out some of the stuff that she's been up to. Otherwise, travelers, safe journeys. We'll see you next time.
Bye, Narfidorks.
Oh, no.
I'm a Narfidort.
Yes.
We're all Narfidorks here.
Oh, hell yeah.
Here in the Seat of Quanta.
You.
Oh no.